we've been going through the Dog Star training program. Now, this isn't a channel where you're going to be learning just like, hey, my dog can do this, my dog can do this, sit, stay, coming down, or, you know, whatever. We're actually going to be teaching you a training lifestyle, a philosophy, a way of understanding your life with your dog that takes your dog from beginner to advanced, avoiding unwanted behaviors that we don't want to see. Now, what are one of those unwanted behaviors that we really struggle with our beginner dogs? And that, you know, a lot of persons call me, I'm a dog trainer, so a lot of persons call me for this particular issue. And can you guess what it is? Leash pulling. When you go on a walk with your young dogs and they have no concept of what this leash is all about, they're pulling, they're distracted, they're tugging on the leash, and it can get real challenging at times. So I'm going to give you some pointers right now to prevent leash pulling and to work with it when it does happen. So first off, you're going to have a 6-foot training leash and a training collar. Now what I'm using here is a martingale, but you could actually use a standard training collar, which is, you know, like the standard choke chain with the ring at each end. Or you can use a slip knot, which is a leash and collar in one. Or you might even use a head collar, which is a gentle leader with the head harness. So you're going to have the right tools. So that's going to help you prevent the behaviors you don't want to see. But you're also going to have a high value reward. And in this case, I got a piece of a hot dog. But you're going to have something meaty. Our dogs are carnivores, and they're going to like have high value treats, and they're going to consider most of them meat. Now, of course, you got dogs that like carrot and cheese and you know, whatever else your dog might like. And so to whatever your dog considers high value, that's a high value reward. All right. So secondly, after you've gotten the right tools, let's go for a walk and see how this works out. For the control walk, or the heel, by the way, is heel. So shadow heel. So as my dog starts to pull and get distracted, I'm going to change my direction and go the opposite direction to whatever direction my dog's trying to go. So a change of direction, that's your first tool. All right. Secondly, if my dog's pulling heavily, now Shadow has a little idea of what's going on, and Shadow really wants this treat, so she's not pulling as hard as she would be if I didn't have a treat in my hand or didn't have the right tools already. So as you can tell, just having the right tools sometimes helps out. After change of direction, I'm going to employ a change of pace. So as you can tell, I stopped walking altogether. So I'm sending Shadow the message, listen, I'm not going to go forward if you're giving me leash pressure or if you're pulling me. So you have to be willing to convince your dog that you're not going in a straight line. They're super smart. So if you decide to walk in a straight line, that's gonna tip them off that you're not willing to do anything and you're gonna accept the leash pulling. So Shadow stopped walking along with me, and so that's why I started walking forward. As soon as Shadow starts to pull, I'm gonna stop again and perhaps even change direction. I'm going to repeat these steps often. And what you're going to notice is the leash pressure is going to subside, or it's going to get less, because your dog's going to say, I don't know what's happening, I don't know which way he's going, maybe I need to follow the handler's lead, your lead, the person at the end of the leash, in order to figure out where I'm going next. Now, you might notice I'm not saying anything to Shadow. When I'm training, I want to get the behavior I want to see before I start attaching a command to the behavior. So now that I've kind of gotten my dog to relax, to relatively speaking walk at my pace, to orient herself to me a little bit better, I'm going to start saying a word, which is heel, and I'm going to start using my reward to really send a message home that I want Shadow in the magic spot at my left side in a controlled walk. And so essentially what I'm saying is, I'm working on focus now. Heel. Heel. Yes. Shadow. Heel. Good girl. Good girl. Now, believe it or not, having my dog focus on me, giving me eye contact for even 5 feet is a lot of brain power. And so if I walk too quickly, I'm not giving my dog time to process everything that's going on. What I mean by this is, Shadow, I want Shadow to focus on the treat. engage her food drive, use that to give me eye contact. So imagine there's an invisible line from my eyes to Shadow's snout. I want Shadow to keep her head pointed in that direction, ignore anything else that's going on in her mind, like maybe a sandfly, a lady walking by, the sound of a car. So I'm asking Shadow to focus, to ignore a lot and focus only on me. So if I'm walking quickly as well, it's also difficult for Shadow to not want to look forward and look down and look at the road or the sidewalk ahead of her. So it's super important for me to walk slow enough for Shadow to process everything that's going on and get that focus. Yes, yes, yes. Now I'm also going to use markers so the Shadow is reassured that she's doing the right thing, and specifically that's yes in this case. Yes is considered a continuous marker because I want Shadow to continue the behavior that she's doing. Yes. Shadow heel. Yes. Now I'm giving Shadow this reward immediately, constantly, as I'm saying this marker yes. But in a lot of cases, I'm just giving a command, I'm saying yes, and then the reward's coming no later than a second later. Shadow heel. Yes. Good girl. Heel. Now as you notice, if I got Shadow focused on me and this treat, the leash pressure comes next to 0. And what I'm also adding in there is a tap, a pop. You know, you could call this a pop, a tap, a snap, a jerk, whatever. But I'm using my leash, tapping with leash pressure to remind Shadow to stay relaxed at my left side and follow my lead. Shadow heel. Yes, good girl. Now keep in mind all of the techniques I told you before, such as change your direction and change your pace, I'm using as well. In addition to what I've just added in, which is a high value reward, so some positive reinforcement. Heel. Yes. Markers, yes, and commands. Heel. So every time I lose Shadow's focus, I'm going to stop walking and work on regaining it. Shadow. Yes. Heel. Yes. Heel. Yes. Heel. Yes. Heel. Yes. Heel. Finish. Good job. And that's our controlled walk practice. And some of you may know that as a focus heel as well. Good job. Now, one last thing I'm going to show you regards to your control walk. You're not always going to be trying to get a focus heel. You're not always going to be working on getting your dog to give you constant eye contact. Sometimes you just want to burn energy and go for a walk, but your dog's just pulling a ton. So a strategy that I use in this case, because I may not have the time to slow down or change direction, or my dog may just be so distracted and stimulated that it doesn't care about the reward. So in this case, I'm going to have a short leash. I'm going to tuck my left hand behind my leg, and I'm going to walk at a steady pace, tapping backward. Not allowing my dog to get ahead, but holding them in this spot until the walk gets a little bit easier. Shadow heel. And I'm not going to encourage my dog to put her head to the ground. So that's what the short leash is about. I don't want her to sniff as we walk on a controlled walk. Oh, one last thing that's really valuable is to slide your collar high behind the ears, because that's where this training collar, actually all of them, are most effective. Shadow heel. Good job. Hit right here. Now you can still use positive reinforcement to help your dog keep the head up, but you're not doing all of the techniques that I said before for whatever reason. Might be time, might be somebody walking by close by. You might be on a busy street. You might just be in a rush. But either way, this is how you're going to get through that. Or you might just want to burn energy. You might just want your dog to just walk, burn energy. You're on a run. You're out for your morning walk, and you don't really want to stop at every turn. Shadow heel. Shadow. Now, it's still valuable to use a reward. It's going to help your dog want to stay in place. So I'm going to close out this episode by teaching you a little bit about how to hold your treat, which hand you want to use, and why. Now, as you notice, for most of this episode, I've had my leash in the left hand and my treat in the right hand. And that's because in this particular situation, Shadow's a beginner to the obedience training, and there's a lot of distractions. And so I need a steady leash pressure. I'm tapping back or popping on the leash to remind Shadow to stay in the magic spot. But let's say it were a little bit easier and Shadow was a little less distracted, and I really wanted to do a lot of work and really focus on my on focus and my focus heel, then I would switch hands with the leash, stick that treat between my thumb, between my, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller for this moment. I'm going to stick that treat between my index finger and my middle finger, put my thumb over it. I'm going to drop that left hand now down to Shadow's snout, hold a short leash under my arm, Shadow heel, and I'm going to work on getting Shadow to stay focused for maybe about 5-10 feet before she may get distracted. Shadow heel, yes, good girl, heel. And as you see, I'm going to start fading the lure or bringing my hand up so that I don't have to give Shadow a constant reward, but I can keep the eye contact. Now, here's the thing. You want to end on a high note, so I actually want to end this with Shadow giving me eye contact. So I'm going to go for another step more before she loses focus. Shadow heel, yes, yes, finish, good job. All right, so it was important to end on a high note and to mark the behavior. So what I did just then is I told Shadow finish while the behavior that I wanted to see was happening. Shadow was giving me eye contact, yes, which is watch me, if you remember. And I marked the behavior by saying you're getting that reward for eye contact by saying finish and giving a reward at that time with the behavior I wanted to see. And as you could tell, Shadow, watch me, yes, good girl. Watch me, come and look at her eyes as she's looking at me. Shadow, watch me, yes. Shadow, watch me, yes. Yes. You, yes. Right there, you. Now you notice the change of direction? You notice the change of pace? You notice Shadow in the magic spot? And you notice the focus, watch me, and the eye contact. Shadow, sit. Shadow, right here. Yes. Watch me. Finish. Good job. So thanks for watching today. I'm Devlin, this is Shadow, and you got Pancho behind the camera at Einhorn Soup. Bless. Hey, what's up? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.